everyone. Welcome to another episode of Matz Unfiltered. I'm your host, Matz. And look at my background. We don't have the neon sign here. I'm, in fact, on the road traveling. I'm currently in the UK, looking forward to spending some time with friends and family. Now, just to give you guys a heads up, there's going to be another episode where we're going to talk about the quality of airports around the world. As I've mentioned, I get to travel a lot, and I can tell you my experience at landing at Heathrow Terminal 3 was, well, let's say it's worth discussing. But I'm going to save that for another rant. But today's topic is one of my favorite topics, and that's talking about badly behaving tourists, or should we just call them assholes? Today's topic is actually quite a few months old, but I really feel like it's worth talking about because we continually see this kind of behavior across the world, and there needs to be some consequences. And so, I want to dive into what we saw, and I'm going to give you a couple of other examples of where I think these people should have some kind of severe consequences. I'm sure some of you have also got some of these experiences. You've seen tourists behaving badly. Don't forget to share and add in the comments. The incident happened in April 2025 at the Palazzo Maffei in Verona, Italy. The good thing about this story is that since I've been reading it, I'm like, I've got to go there. It looks like it houses some of the world's most amazing art. And I'm fascinated. So that's the positive, that I want to go and visit. But the story is really about this couple. Let me say, we don't know where they're from. And essentially, because of the social media dopamine, they want to clearly take a photograph where they're pretending to sit on this beautiful Swarovski-covered chair, which is known as the Van Gogh chair, designed and created by Nicola Bolo. And this story is how they basically destroyed it. I'm going to show you a quick clip from Sky News Australia covering the incident that happened, and also what the museum has very kindly asked people to consider when next visiting.
Watch a tourist break a chair nicknamed Van Gogh, causing a big uh-oh in an Italian art museum. A statement shared by the Palazzo Maffei Museum in Italy says a pair of tourists were admiring Nicola Bola's so-called Van Gogh chair, a delicate piece covered in Swarovski crystals. The visitors were taking turns taking pics when one decided to strike a sitting pose over the chair and ended up crushing the fragile work. The unidentified pair then quickly fled the exhibit, leaving the crumpled crystal chair behind. In a statement, officials called it an art museum's worst nightmare, but said, thankfully, restorers were able to fix the piece, returning it to its glittering former glory. The museum is now sharing the cautionary tale, asking visitors to treat all exhibits with care, reminding them that art is meant to be admired, but always respected.
So, the only way to describe this is, what the F did we just witness? As I've mentioned many times, I'm from Hong Kong. I am half Chinese, so I speak fluent Cantonese. And for my Cantonese brethren and sisters out there, they will know there are only 3 words to describe what we just saw. And that is delay no more. What the hell did we just see these people do? Okay, so let's break down exactly what we saw in this chair fiasco, right? This couple, again, we don't know where they're from, right? They visited the palazzo. It's actually got huge amounts of art installation. And as I mentioned, they destroyed this piece by Nicola Bolo from the Piedmont region, which I'm super excited to shout out because I'm actually going to Turin next week. Woohoo! And you could see when you break this video down that, instead of going into the Palazzo in Verona and treating it like the cathedral of culture, they really just thought it was fun to get their Instagram shot, their fake, I'm sitting on this priceless piece of art shot. So the first shot we see is Mrs. Tourist, with Mr. Tourist trying to take the photo. So Mrs. Tourist, kudos to her. She's clearly been doing her yoga and Pilates Her core strength is fine. She's able to do the pretend classic, I'm squatting down, seat movement or seat motion or sit down motion. Then, of course, we've each got to have the same shot. Mr. Tourist does exactly the same move. Now, here's where it gets really tricky. Not only is he trying to pop a squat, but also the first time he pops it, he's not far back enough. He's not back enough so that Mrs. Tourist goes, hey, it doesn't look like your butt is anywhere close to the chair. So what happens is he continues to squat and step backwards at the same time, all trying to eke out a cheesy grin to say, hey, look, I'm sitting on this priceless art. But that's just too much. It's a bridge too far. The smiling, the popping a squat, and moving backwards at the same time. That's 3 motions that this Mr. Tourist needs to multitask doing. And so what happens is, of course, he's not been doing his Pilates or yoga. He's got no inner core strength. And so what happens? The body can't handle it, can't manage, moving backwards, trying to squat, sit, and also getting that cheesy smile out. That's too much. It's a bridge too far. So we crash. Ass falls into the chair, and it's not a real chair. It can't actually take human weight. And so the chair buckles. I've read in some articles it was smashed to smithereens. That's not true. Both the front legs were broken and the seat is lopsided. It now looks like, a chair from some kind of, Hansel and Gretel, the witch's house kind of chair. It's all wonky. And the good thing is that actually the museum was actually able to fix it, thank goodness, and it's now been restored. Now, let's get back to Mr. and Mrs. Tourist. What happened then was a classic case of they knew it and they basically did a sit and run. And instead of going, gosh, what have we done? And calling someone, they legged it out of there. Now, to be fair, they didn't marathon run out of there. They didn't sprint out, because if they could have done that, they would have been, had a good enough core strength to manage the sit motion. No, they looked around and then kind of sneaked off. At that particular time when they were there was actually no security, so no one could actually stop them and go, excuse me, assholes, why have you legged it? No. They just went off and probably went somewhere close by, got themselves a stiff drink, had a bit of a chuckle, and didn't send the images to anyone. Certainly no longer putting it on social media. So I've got to go back a little bit and share with you that I've been traveling since I was 3 months old, and, going to different places. I had it knocked into me. It was like it's been built into my DNA. There was a phrase that my parents used consistently and my mum used all the time, especially when we were going in anywhere where there were priceless artifacts, which was hands behind your back, right? Every single time, wherever we went, both my sister and I were told, hands behind your back. And, my parents have said they considered us to be good travelers, even when we were little. But you never know with kids. And so growing up with that mantra, and we had other mantras when we were traveling, but all of them were really about just being mindful and respecting your surroundings. And also, we can't afford it, so for God's sake, please don't touch it. I don't think a lot of people are taught that, because not only this incident, but I was up at Chatsworth about a year and a half ago, and again, priceless artifacts. But of course, there's always a tourist. And by the way, these weren't kids. These were adults who like to poke and prod things and touch things. And I don't understand the reason why you need to touch things. So I would just like to remind people a very good saying from Sophie, which is, hands behind your back. And if you don't do it, then, out comes the chicken feather duster because ass needs beating. What's been really interesting about this story as well has been the speculation of where they're from. And across social media, it was discussed on The View, which is a US talk show. I don't know who all the other women are, but I certainly know Whoopi Goldberg, and she's amazing. If you get a chance to watch it, have a quick gander. But they all speculate that this couple are American. Now, I think we have to be fair. We don't know where they're from. They might not be American. In this particular incident, we just know that they're Western. We don't know exactly what part of the world they're from. And I really have an issue, sidebar here. I have a real issue with what's known as doxing. And that's when people go online and ask other people to identify someone, where they live, where they work, everything about them. And the truth is that I think that really drives a mob mentality, the pitchforks out. I think that's unnecessary. And the most importantly, we don't know where these people are from. I'm not going to make an assumption that they're Americans. Granted, I've seen badly behaving tourists from the US, but I've also seen them from all parts of the world, not just the US. I've seen them from the UK. I've seen them from Germany. I've seen them from China. I've seen them from all over the world. There are badly behaving humans in every single culture and country across the world. Every country has their fair share of assholes. So I don't like that we want to try and be couch detectives and call out people directly, because I really think that's dangerous. But I do think it's important, particularly in these situations, where I'm sure, because they have been identified as tourists, that they would have entered into the country somewhere, that there would be information about them, and that there should be consequences. Couple of other examples that really, really drive me insane. Again, here's a quick clip. This is done from someone on TikTok, and it shows this poor geisha just trying to get to work, and this tourist who is nonstop hounding her like the world's worst paparazzi, taking photos as if she's not human. What's interesting is in the background, you can actually hear a local Japanese tour guide in English saying, "Please don't do that. Please don't do that. That's very rude." If you've ever been to Japan, you know that they never say things like that, that this is an incredibly polite, cultured society that wouldn't just yell out like that. The fact that they had to do that is really equivalent to their version of a bitch slap. And I think it's important that people don't do that. Have a look at this clip.
عشان كذي اليابانيين يتشكون من السياح. شوفوا 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 شوفوا. You can't do that. Oh my goodness. That's so rude. They to Kyoto. That's the only show.
You can see how gross it is, right? It's absolutely disgusting. Now, on to another story. I don't have a clip about this because this was actually shared directly with me by the governor, the then governor of the Albay province in the Philippines. And they have the Mayon volcano, which is shaped beautifully. And a lot of people like to take photos of the volcano, but also people think that they can hike it because it looks like it's an easy walk to get up to the top. But what the governor shared was that one of the biggest challenges he faced was the cost of rescuing foreign tourists who decided to climb Mayon and not realizing that they really struggled to get back down once they got to the top. And it isn't cheap. It costs tens of thousands of US dollars for them to send a rescue crew, the helicopter, to rescue these two tourists. In this particular instant he shared, it was actually about German tourists. Again, it's not about where they're from. It could have been anyone. But the point was that these tourists had to be rescued. It cost a huge amount of money. And that budget has to come from somewhere, and it has to come from the governor's pocket. And that takes away money for local resources. The Philippines is not a particularly wealthy country, certainly not Albay as a province, and they need that money for other municipal services, and they can't get that back. So I really believe that we have to have some very severe consequences. Here's a few things I think that needs to be done. When you're visiting museums or palaces, anything that houses artifacts, I have no issue scanning in my passport. When I want to get a Wi-Fi code in the Delhi airport lounge, I have to scan my passport to get the code. I don't have an issue with that. So you should offer the same and make sure that people are scanning their passport when they come in. So at least you have their passport details. I think if your tourist volumes are too high, charge an entrance fee. That'll put them off. And I think that's really important to look at because it also helps manage footfall. Again, side note, I visited Angkor Wat a number of times, Borobudur in Indonesia a number of times. These are absolutely amazing structures from the 4th and 6th century. And whilst there is an entrance fee, they're not high. And the number of tourists I've seen who aren't paying attention to the history, the art, the culture, the fact that these were and are, for a lot of locals, religious it's a religious site that they're going in, just taking their Instagram shot or the stupid, shots that they're doing where they're climbing on things to give, again, this fake imagery that they're trying to create, this fake story that they're trying to create. Or even worse, particularly at religious sites where people go in wearing completely inappropriate clothing. There is no cause to wear, what are they called? The bum showing shorts with a bikini top, whether you're going into a Greek Orthodox church, to Angkor Wat or Borobudur. Put some clothes on, mate. No one wants to see your ass whilst you're climbing up these stairs. It's completely inappropriate. And I see that every time. I was just at Angkor at the start of the year and I saw bad behavior, people wearing inappropriate clothing and not realizing these are religious sites, or realizing but not caring. But anyway, back to the consequences. Yes, scan my passport, charge me a higher fee. I don't have a problem. That's how you protect your culture, your sites, right? And then I think you have to have some ban in place. If you smash art, you're persona non grata. And I think that has to extend to every museum. So the couple, if they were identified by the police or by officials, they should be sent a notification saying they're not welcome to visit any museums across Italy, or better yet, across Europe for at least 10 years. Similarly, that lady who took the photographs of the geisha, in fact, you're not welcome. In my opinion, she shouldn't be welcome back to Japan ever. She should be given a lifetime ban to visit the country because she took no effort to understand the local culture at all. And she was probably given a warning before. The people who had to be rescued, here's the bill. Thank you very much. And you're also banned for the next 5 years. Consequences have to sting. They can't just be a simple slap on the wrist. Think making them pay, and better yet, if you can't find them, but you can identify their nationality, call up your local embassy and say, here you go. These people came, they destroyed, you're a citizen, your problem. Here's your bill. Thank you very much. Pay up. I think that has to be the case because it's really important that if these are things that have been destroyed by foreigners, then foreigners have to pay the consequences And it shouldn't be local taxpayers who have to pay for damages that have been created by overseas tourists. So I think strong consequences need to be utilized. If you don't know how to behave, don't travel. Surely you know this. If you're going to someone's home, you don't go in and just automatically go for a shower, take a crap, break things. You know how to behave if you go into someone's home. If you don't, then hell, don't go to anyone's home because you clearly suck. It's the same principle when you travel to someone else's country and experience their culture. There has to be some level of respect. Travel is a privilege. It's not a right. You need to know how to behave. I'll leave you with a note from Mum. Hands behind your back. Thanks for listening this week. Join me next week as I'm going to talk about another favorite topic. It's a little sensitive, possibly, and that's beg packers. If you've heard of this phrase, hopefully you're not one. If you are, I'm coming for you. So join me next week as we talk about beg packers and what we've got to do with this group of people. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to share and comment with friends or anyone else you know that feels exactly the same way as I do about travel. See you soon. Bye.